Moving on, it's time now for weather with Nebraska Extension ag climatologist and Market Journal chief meteorologist Al Dutcher. Al, we are rounding out August. Hard to believe. What can we expect in the coming days?
Well, Alex, we did see a little bit of precipitation this week. Most it was what we call ridge runners, basically going over top of the ridge and then coming down the east side of it. That really impacted more of northern and northeastern Nebraska, with less of an impact as you move toward the south. In fact, getting south the I-80 corridor, most locations didn't receive anything in the way of precipitation, particularly from central Nebraska all the way out through western Nebraska. Now, as we go through this weekend, we're going to be dealing with a trough that's going to move in across the northern plains, and depending on its path, we will really determine whether we're going to get into an extended period in eastern Nebraska with precipitation, or whether that trough is going to strengthen over the Great Lakes like it has done pretty much for the last 2 months. I'm kind of going and leaning toward the second option, but I remind you that this forecast here is based on that second option. The first option is that the low will cut off and then drift down into the central plains, which would present eastern Nebraska with the better precipitation opportunities. So as we go to the upper air models, the first thing I'll draw your attention to is here's that upper air low. We've had a series of troughs moving through. In fact, we had one last night that moved through, and that will be the trend that will continue as we go through this weekend. And they see that high pressure system trying to basically get pushed toward the south as that trough moves over. So we'll deal with this thunderstorm activity moving through Iowa as we go through today, and then we'll see a reformation as we go through the evening hours as this low comes into western South Dakota. We'll see low pressure developing in northeastern portions of South Dakota. That should be able to lift some moisture up into the region, and we'll see another complex move through during the overnight hours into Sunday morning. Now this trough, as it goes toward the Great Lakes, this is where the things start to change. This model basically takes the Great Lakes and strengthens it. So we're going to get on the backside of this upper air low, and that's going to bring in some slightly cooler conditions probably during the middle part of the week, but it also means another storm complex has come through during the overnight hours into Monday morning, and then by Tuesday, the GFS model really builds this ridge up, so we're going to see a fairly warm trend starting to develop in western Nebraska once again. Eastern Nebraska is going to see a little bit more cold air infiltration. It'll be delayed slightly. Most of the precipitation basically stays to our south and to our east. On Wednesday, we start to see the ridge pushing just a little bit farther toward the east, so we're going to see temperatures return to the upper 80s in the east. We're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 90s across the west. In terms of precipitation, once again, most of it will remain to our south as long as this trough itself develops. As we go into the day on Thursday, we start to see this trough trying to expand westward. That will try to push a little bit of cooler air in next week as the ridge starts to take more of a pattern over the central and southern Rocky Mountains. Precipitation still remains well to our south, pretty much free, but there is a hint of some monsoon moisture trying to work its way in, and that will probably continue into Friday as we see another big trough moving into the Pacific Northwest. And once again, I suspect that that will move right across the northern plains also. So low pressure in eastern Montana. We'll start to work on this moisture, and as we get into next week, and there's a very good possibility that some of that system will work its way across the northern plains and give us some moisture for the Labor Day weekend. We look even farther out in the future, the 8 to 14 day forecast next Tuesday for the following Tuesday. We still see some of that cooler air in condition in the south of us. Warmer conditions out west as that ridge starts to really build in. And in terms of precipitation, right now precipitation is indicated to be blown over across the northern plains above normal to our south. We're kind of caught in between, so depending on how deep that trough digs, will determine how much moisture we actually get.